Hi everybody, it's Opal Luna, Carl the drum guy.
I'm Birch Von Baum.
Hello.
So you want to know about egregores, huh?
An egregore is a collective thought entity.
A lot of people will tell you that egregore is basically a thought form or a thought entity. That is really one way to describe them. But a good way to understand what an egregore is and what it does is to consider where it comes from. It is a spirit entity who are created through an act of consciousness. Now, an egregore is one created through an act of consciousness, but one done by a group of people. So, for example, if an individual, like say you or I, were to manifest consciously a spirit creature to work with us, for example, like a familiar or something of that nature, that would be a single person, but that would not be to the same level as an egregore. An egregore requires a group of people in order to reach that level of energy to manifest.
We're here to talk to you about claw. Newcomers to CUUPs may not know that as a group we have created an egregore to protect the church.
It's very common to find egregores around churches, around holy sites. There are some who say they also find egregores around battlefields. Anywhere where people have a collective communal experience with a great deal of energy behind it.
We all decided that this big cat in spirit was going to be a protection for our property.
Claw, our egregore, is a thought form that we created here specifically to protect the church. Now, a church or any other spiritual building will have a lot of protective energy just from the belief of those who attend. The belief that it's a safe space, the belief that it's a place where they can work their magic, say their prayers. But the difference between that general energy and egregore is it's now been shaped. So you take that basic raw energy and you shape it into a specific thought form, an entity. In this case, a large orange cat, who then patrols and protects and guards the sanctuary and its grounds. So,
why did we do that?
Well, for a few years, people had been having their cars broken into and things were being removed from the property and stolen from the church. That led to Claw being activated, and once he was in place, all of that nonsense stopped. People's cars stopped getting broken into, people weren't coming on the property to mess with anything, and it's because of Claw.
So creating sacred space. There are those of us in the pagan world who would tell you that all space is sacred. And while that's true, the concept of sacred space can be very specific, because if you consider that we have our material world here that we walk upon, and then there are the other worlds which intersect and cross with it. A sacred space is one where on one side the boundaries may be very thin, very porous, so spirit entities can easily cross from one side to another. That is part of what makes space sacred. But the problem is when you have that porous border, spirits are able to come and go at will. The risk is, just like among people, not every spirit is necessarily a good person, so to speak. So part of creating sacred space is opening the door and welcoming those spirits who can add and build to the community, who help maintain its safety, while at the same time establishing those boundaries in such a way that there's a sort of border guard who can make sure that the wrong or the dangerous or the malevolent entities cannot get in. And that is one thing that Claw also has been created to do. is, since as an Egregore, he has a presence both on the material and the spiritual plane, he is able to be a guardian at that boundary for us.
That's a key point. When you're thinking about Claw, think of him as a deterrent, not aggressive, but protective. Because we still want to harm none. We just want to keep them off our property. And it has worked, but we saw some proof during the lockdown how necessary Claw is.
Yes, someone came onto the property and wanted to steal the nice, beautiful, brand new playground that they had put in.
Right.
And one of our group happened to go by the church at that exact moment and caught and chased off those people.
This made us realize that the energy that we had been giving Claw every Thursday night really was waning. So even from your house, you can think about Claw and give him energy. It's like feeding the cats, and you know cats are always hungry. They'll always take some kind of treat from you.
All the time.
So keep him in your mind, keep him in your thoughts as you do your regular, prayers or rituals or whatever it is that you do. And he will continue to protect not only the property, but the people that go there.
I've seen Claw around here a few times. There was one time when I was here at night, and I was by myself, and I was carrying some plants in and out, and you're walking alone at night in a dark place, you start feeling a little nervous, and I just said, "Hey Claw, are you there? Are you keeping an eye on the place?" And out of nowhere, it had been perfectly still. The wind suddenly came up, the leaves started rattling, and I heard the sound of paws walking through the leaves, even though I couldn't see anything.
As I've had an experience, I got there too early for a sisterhood meeting one time, and I'm alone in the car, and you start feeling that weird feeling, and out of the corner of my eye, I caught the specter of a black panther walking past my car. He circled the car and went back into the bushes, and I relaxed. I realized it was Claw sending one of his minions to let me know that I was protected on that property. It was a really nice feeling.
You can walk around the property also, and in certain places, Ricky and Jeff see him more often than I do. But Claw has definitely marked the territory. On one of the pine trees out front, if you look up about 10 to 12 feet off the ground, you can see the huge claw marks raked down the tree. You mark that one. There's a few places where about 4 or 5 feet up, you can see where he does his face rub on some of the trees. So
He's
there.
cat.
He's a big kitty, and he's very friendly with us, and he loves to be fed, and he loves to be talked to.
A funny story, when the church next door to the UU put that big fence around because they had been having break-ins, they went to Reverend Susie and asked her if we wanted to go in with them and do one large fence around the whole property, and she said, "No, that's not necessary. We have a Claw."
Yep.
So Claw is well recognized. I think the first time he was created in 2009. Carl and I have been part of the ritual maybe 4 or 5 times since then.
Yeah.
So it's really something that we want to keep going, and even now, when we're not meeting there as often as usual, when you do go there for a cleanup or your name is pulled from the cauldron for a ritual or whatever reason, maybe you just want to drive by and say hello to Claw. He will really appreciate it because he does great things for us.
Oh, yes.
We make sure that when we do our Claw ritual, and we do it annually, because every year we tell Claw, please work with us for a year and a day, and if you are still willing, able, and needed, we will then renew the contract. It's like that, so that after a year and a day, if something were to happen that no one did it, then the thought spirit would just dissipate and not cause any trouble. You can physically feed Claw's friends when you're there, but I would say put it out far from the church building itself, because with the school there during the day, we don't want to encourage the wildlife to get too familiar and come up too close. We got a raccoon situation already.
Yes. The last ritual we had, they're getting way too comfortable with people. One of them came up and actually took the marshmallow bag off the table. Shout out to Birch for seeing him and stopping him.
Huh?
But when we scared him off the marshmallow bag, he went over and tried to get into the church through the door. He actually was, if he had gotten it open wide enough to get his head in, he would have got in, but we stopped him. But things like that, you know, that's why Claw is there, is to keep that stuff in check, and that's why we don't want people getting the food too close to the building.
So that's everything that we know about Claw.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to feed him because he's a good kitty, and he sends all his friends to be with us. Even if you haven't seen Claw in person, you've seen some of his friends around. When we were there the last time doing practice for the Yule ritual, I was playing the Dark Mother, and every time I went out to do my part, a black cat walked around the circle. So he's very interested in what we're doing there. All right, well, that's it for us. I hope you enjoy your night, and think about Claw. He likes it when you growl.